Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
Dr. Satya Mitra has journeyed from a childhood of poverty and homelessness to a successful career as a financial advisor, motivational speaker, and community leader. Now inspired by his guru, he uses his experiences to positively affect the lives of underprivileged people. We strive to house our blindness, poverty, homelessness, female empowerment, and good citizenship initiatives within the Joy Guru Humanitarian Center. If you wish to contribute or know of deserving persons or initiatives that could use our assistance, please contact us at 508-641-8441.
Bad decisions limit future options. Stop adversity from becoming stress. Listen to The Float Line with host Rick Hughes, Sundays at 9 a.m. on AM 830 WCRN for inspiration, education, all without manipulation. The Float Line, Sundays at 9 a.m.
It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good morning and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. And again, as Peter has stepped away from broadcasting for a little while to take care of some health issues, I will be conducting the Joe Mangiacotti Show Sundays going forward here on AM 830 WCRN. Let's do some housekeeping. You can join the conversation, of course, for the next few hours at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And that will get you into the studio for two-way talking conversation. Russ is flying the board back behind the glass at HQ, so he'll get you set up into the studio. Very easy to do. And we do have our text line running. We do set that up for the show, and that's simple. You dial 617, or you actually really don't dial it, do you? You just send your text to 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. It does appear in real time in a screen here in the studio, and we try to work it into the conversation. And a lot of times you guys use it to, remind me of that name or event that I can't play. So that's a great tool for me, guys. But the text line is running at 617-297-8388. And of course, the station does stream 24/7 to the TuneIn app, which is a great feature like thousands of other radio stations do, which means you can take us anywhere. That's right. If you don't have the app, seconds, download it, punch in WCRN. You'll see our cool logo. Do me a favor, hit the like button. We know you're there. Easy to find. And put it on your device, your tablet, your smartphone, your PC, whatever it is. You can listen to us anywhere you have an internet connection. It's a great feature, as well as tell Alexa to play WCRN, and she'll do that with no questions asked. So all kinds of great stuff. Jerry Doherty will join us in the 10 o'clock hour. You know him as the host of Making Money Last here on the station for the last 13 years, and of course, founder and president of Boston Independence Group. Tonight, we got that new show going on, right? Blind and Beyond from 7 to 9. So make sure you tune into that. That's been a great success and has spread. I can't believe the response that we've gotten from that. Thanks for all the emails and messages thanking us for bringing Blind and Beyond onto the show. So that's good stuff. Now, I do stream. I'm broadcasting from the Cameo studios, so that does mean the Cameo cam is on. You can simply listen and watch the show on the station's Facebook page, YouTube channel, as well as my social media platforms. And that would be Facebook and X and Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and yes, Rumble. We stream live to Rumble. We've got the Joe Mangiacotti Show channel there. So multiple ways to watch and listen. Hey, and the show's turned into a podcast when I get off the air. So you can actually subscribe to it, and you can do that wherever you get your podcast. Where do you like to get them from? iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Play, Spotify. That's a big one. Stats show the biggest downloads for me for this show are actually done on iHeartRadio. I would have thought it would be Spotify, but then again, I'm surprised at the division of the podcasts, we're like almost 4% of the podcast of the show is downloaded in Japan, Belgium, and then a lot in South America because, and I found this out because people let me know the reason, because why would I be in South America, Mexico, Guatemala, that kind of thing? It's because the Meta of Facebook, their AI for the closed caption, because this is all off the top of my head. This isn't really a scripted show, but it's so good and so fast. You can actually just tell it to do it in Spanish and they can read the show. And I was always amazed at that. That was kind of interesting. Let me say good morning, Russ. You look marvelous.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe. You look so marvelous too.
And we do have the technology and ability for me to actually see you on camera, but every time I put the camera in that studio, I think Ted A hides it. So
I wouldn't know. I don't question. I just come in. I do my job. I try to make you happy.
We appreciate
the listeners
that,
happy.
Russ.
Everybody happy.
Yeah, we appreciate that. You've been there since early morning and in taking care of some of the shows, Data Day and Health in This Way Radio. All good stuff. Great shows. So here we go, right? Buckle up. We've got a few hours ahead of us. And Sunday, this show, in the spirit of Peter's years of doing this, I'd like to keep the same feeling. And that's like, whatever you want to talk about. We've got a whole week to look back at. What was going on? What did you enjoy? We had the Royals visit, right? Official state visit last Monday. Of course, the Monday after, another attempted assassination of the president, but this time it was not just the president. Like, this guy's manifesto, and he wanted to take out the cabinet and any and all Trump administration or just MAGA conservative people he could do. And I addressed it in earlier shows, last Sunday show, Wednesday show. Yes, I do praise the Secret Service. They did their thing. But I still have a problem with how close this man got with multiple weapons and knives. I mean, there's basically a wall and a door between him and the president, and the next several line of secession there, right? Vice President, Secretary of State, Speaker, Secretary of State, you go down the line. That shouldn't happen at all. It was crazy. I can't believe that. And that is a failure. And I know I am not dissing the Secret Service. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. And usually the Secret Service, whatever the venue is, they take complete and utter control of that venue, right? So why wasn't the rooms all emptied, or at least they should have been secured, searched? Everybody should have been searched on check-in, all right? Everybody who had checked in before, say, that window, that room needed to be swept then, and then access to every room. You had to have your ID to get into your, I just don't. And if it's not able to do that, sorry, that can't be the place for the venue, or the president can't attend it there. I don't know. I still, on some levels, in my opinion, humble opinion, there was a failure there. Not a failure in the actual, I mean, they got the guy. And even that, there was, I went over the details I had in front of me on the show the other day, 25-second gunfight, how many shots were fired and everything, and how many shots were fired at the alleged assassin here, and he wasn't hit. But a Secret Service agent was hit, and fortunately he had body armor on, and good for that. But in the big picture, something that didn't sit right with me. That guy shouldn't have been able to get like that. And even what say you on this? 508-871-7000. Even it was so open. I mean, when you come up to a military base, a secure base, an embassy, they put those Jersey barriers, and so a car can't just come running down at full speed. They've got to snake through this. And they could have really set up that big area. It wouldn't have slowed down the entrance process, because they really didn't do the megatometer till you were going into that actual ballroom, which was pushing 3,000 people. And this guy, he was Roadrunner, Speedy Gonzalez, right? I mean, he was. It looked like like they sped the clip up. He moved so fast, and good for him, I guess. But he should have had barriers. There should have been something. Not just him, but anybody who wanted to charge like that should have been slowed down, in my opinion. But if you want to bring it up and talk about that, the fact that it was 3 and then, a few days later, after that attempt, they get a guy with a shotgun. Trump wasn't there, but he's headed for to the golf club, like some final rounds or something. And then I'm sure there are a lot of ones that don't make the news. Well, I know there are, because I know of other assassination attempts that have been foiled because they've been caught with chatter and stuff. And the fact that Iran has had, right, the Muslim Brotherhood there in Iran, they've had a fatwa on Trump for a long time. So there's a lot more going on. He's going to be the most, he is, I think he's officially the most attempted assassination attempts of any president, and probably has the most gunning for him than any president we've had. And fortunately, everything from the Secret Service and security, preventing it, to just good old-fashioned luck. And some might actually even say intervention. Trump will always love, right, that big, beautiful chart that he brought out of order. He usually doesn't bring it out till a little later in the speech. And he asked them to bring it out earlier because he was riffing, right? He was ad-libbing. And he turned his head to look at it. And that looks, I mean, I think everybody can agree it saved his life, because turning of the head changed where the bullet hit. It hit his ear instead of the back quarter of his head. So that would have been a very different day. And history would be very different right now if things in Butler, Pennsylvania didn't happen differently, mostly because of him turning his head right at the right time. Not because, and God help us, not because they had somebody on that roof, or not because they had drones. And why they didn't have drones that day? No, he wasn't president, he was candidate. But considering he's a former president and was pretty much leading as the showdown with Biden, should have had presidential level security. Again, we go back to something was not right there. And when the Secret Service sniper did focus in on the fact that there was somebody on the roof firing shots at him, he leveled up, took his aim, took his shot, and neutralized that threat between the eyes, actually. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Now, yesterday, right, the big day, the what do they call it? The fastest couple minutes in sports, and the Kentucky Derby ran yesterday. The 150-second Kentucky Derby gave us the kind of story that Derby seems designed to produce, right? A long shot, a late charge, a historic first, 2 minutes of chaos turning into a lifetime of legacy. Did you watch it? I did not. I mean, a clip, like real quick. Lot of stuff going on yesterday in my life that so I didn't get to. I would like to have been able to comfortably sit right in the movie screening room, watch the TV, have a cocktail and all that, but no. But did you watch it? I mean, do you try to watch it ever? Has anybody ever gone to it, right? I mean, that is on a bucket list. So Golden Temple won the 2026 Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs. The jockey, ridden by Jose Ortiz, trained by Sherry DeVoe, who became the first female trainer ever to win the Kentucky Derby. And Golden Temple went off around 23-1, 24-1, came from last, beat Renegade by a neck. And Osili finished third. The time was reported at 2 minutes, 2 seconds, 0.27 for the mile and a quarter. Ortiz also won the Kentucky Derby Oaks the day before, making him the only the ninth jockey to pull off the Oaks Derby double. So, hey, Kentucky Derby. It is American theater. And I would like to. At a station I was at a long time ago. My lead salesman there, big sports guy. His name was Carl. This guy could talk about any kind of sports anywhere. I don't care what you brought up. Hey, Carl, what do you know about women's volleyball? Everything, right? Whatever it was. He did a great sports show, and he had this great story about going to the Kentucky Derby, not having any tickets whatsoever. But he had such this innate knowledge of sport and sporting events. He knew how the Kentucky Derby worked. And there's an auction there. Long story short, because we don't have all day, he talked his way into the Kentucky Derby, also into the, I guess there's a horse auction earlier or later, I don't know, connected to it. And he got him and his buddy into the auction. And he knows that there are a certain number of people who don't show. So he got himself a number. And he also had such a great knowledge of what these horses should probably go for. So just for fun, he would bid on the horses, and his buddies panicked to heck. If you win this bid, we're talking $1 million, $2 million for a horse. And Kyle would just say, it's never going to go for that. That horse is going to go for at least whatever X. It's just fun to bid on it, knowing that someone's going to outbid me. And spent the day at the Kentucky Derby. It's just, hey, one of those stories. Now, maybe it got embellished over the years as he told it, but I'm not surprised, because that's the type of a guy that he was. He was kind of at. Yeah, Carl, great sportsman. But I would like to do the whole mint julep, dress up, and the women go all out. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to Tom in Lunenburg. Good morning, Tom. Did you watch the Derby?
Good morning. Good morning. What a screw up on that shooting down at where Trump was. That was all common sense.
Tom, clear your mic. It sounds a little muffled. Is it too close to your mouth?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, a little better. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, that was all preventable. The supervisor was in charge of that, took 2 days off vacation. It was on the news. He wasn't there. Somebody else was filling in for him. The head one of the security detail, Secret Service. Why did they have 10 Secret Service agents just fighting around? They should have had a hard barrier up there. Not a Jersey barrier, but a hard one.
Yeah.
Maybe about 6 to 8 feet tall. And you narrow the opening and you have 2 guards there with guns. I would have had 2 Marine guards there with machine guns right there. Nobody. You want to see another screw up? Did you see the tape with the guy with the dog?
I was just going to bring that up. The dog sensed something wasn't right behind the door, and the handler pulled him back, Tom.
Yeah. The dog didn't even bark. He went into the hallway, came out, and about 90, he made about 3 steps. The guy opened the door and rushed right back right by him. Do you think he's an accomplice? That's what I think, because usually those dogs bark, but anybody around here.
The dog is an accomplice or the handler?
No, the guy. He had the handler of the dog. Watch what he does. He, instead of going into the hallway, his whole body, once the dog comes out, and the guy goes right by him. And I'm saying, he didn't even lock the door, or somebody should have been stationed, locked that door. And nobody ever did. And also, you were talking about assassination of presidents. Trump is way down. He's not high. The one that's got the most is Abraham Lincoln. He had a lot. And the other one was Obama. You wouldn't believe how many assassination attempts that failed. And I think it was like 1,100 assassination attempts in his 2 terms. 1,100, the highest. They had a show on TV. I think it was like Nova or Discovery, and it went through all the assassination attempts of presidents. And Trump is way low compared to Obama and Lincoln.
Tom, I think I got to push back on that, because my research said former President Donald Trump has survived the most assassination attempts, with 2 notable instances occurring in 24, 4 U.S. presidents have been assassinated while in office, but Trump is unique, having faced multiple attempts during his political career. So it's showing Trump with 3.
That's wrong.
Lincoln with 3, including success. So I guess Trump and Lincoln are tied.
Well, check it out. The way you're getting your sources is wrong because they've done a thing on TV.
Yeah.
And,
no, I'm not standing. I'm just saying that's what I got when I do a quick search. But I think if we drill down, and Abraham Lincoln makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, it was a civil war, for Christ's sakes, and he wanted to end slavery, and you had half the country. It would have been, and I mean, that's why they didn't want to end it. It was the economic chaos that would have brought.
Hey, get the real list and go down it on the air. You don't find the real list. Obama, he was way up there. I couldn't believe it. And they actually showed on TV some of the, who was it in office? I think it was one of the Bushes. Somebody took a shot, a sniper, right through the Oval Office window. But the glass was so thick, you could see the bullet embedded in the bulletproof glass, but it didn't break the inner glass.
No,
it didn't have enough.
Those are absolute. They're armor glass. I mean, obviously, it's the Oval Office, and even we've got such high, powerful weapons that even at that big distance, if it wasn't bulletproof glass, it would penetrate. But also, I think Bush he's the one that had somebody threw a grenade at him, and it didn't go off. I mean, Bush had some crazy stuff. Remember the guy who threw the shoe at him?
Yeah.
I forget. It was in Indonesia, China, somewhere, right? They're in a room with. And somebody just took his shoe off and threw it, and Bush ducked. I mean, he ducked. He had great reflexes, but it's crazy. It's crazy the things that, and we don't know about a lot of this stuff, Tom.
Hey, remember when Obama, the guy hopped the fence, ran across the lawn, and they had security guards, the military on the grass. They turned their backs to him because they knew him. They knew him in the service. He got in the door of the White House residency. He knew he had to know the door to go upstairs into the private residency. Somebody
Wait a minute.
told him.
When was Tom? When was this? I don't remember this. I mean, I remember stories about people hopping the fence and running across the lawn. I remember the one about the little kid, a 4 or 5-year-old kid that somehow got through the fence and was he just saw a big green yard to play in. And then they had to return him to the dad. And yeah, there's been, I mean, all the time there's stories about idiots who try to go over the fence, but I do not remember one where somebody just got through the yard, hopped the fence, got through the lawn, into the White House, and then into the residency. That's a serious security, F up.
He went up the stairs. He missed Obama inside his apartment with 20 seconds. They got him out, a different exit. And he was coming up those stairs up into the residency. Come to find out, he was a military man, He knew the military guards out on the lawn. They looked the other way. Everybody hated Obama that time. They wanted him out of the picture.
All right.
Check it out. Google.
I don't remember that. All right, Tom. Thank you for the call. Good stuff. And yeah, I agree. Again, thank you for the call. I totally agree that a week ago Saturday, I've said it on the 3 shows or whatever I've had since then, that they did a good job, I guess, once they identified him and he tried it, but really he should have never gotten there. And as I said earlier, the fact that they didn't have him, to Tom's point, my point, there should have been a barriers that, as it was a wide open lobby. He came out of that door and he just bolted. And there should have been a corral that you had to walk. They contemporarily put up 5, 6, even 8 or 10 foot glass stuff. Just something that would have slowed down your ability. This guy just had a clean shot straight towards the ballroom. And then to find out that he was walking above the ballroom, the floor up. And I brought this up and I don't remember if it was Wednesday show or last Sunday show. Usually the Secret Service clears the entire floor above and below wherever the president is, clears it. And given the circumstances, if they don't clear everybody out of there, there's Secret Service agents there. Everybody's been patted down, checked. The dogs, bomb sniffing dogs going through all of that, because somebody loaded up with one of those suicide vests that's willing to set it off right above the ballroom is going to bring the ceiling down and hurt all kinds of people. So I don't think it's the Hilton, right? I don't think the Hilton was secured the way it should have been secured for a president there. And the fact that guy had such a clear shot at running towards the ballroom doors, it doesn't make sense to me, folks. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Lines open all morning here. That's the nature of it, to recap what's gone on in the last week. What are we looking at coming up this week? What's your take? Where are you feeling things are? We've got the Iran situation, and I like the way, I know we're against the clock. We're going to have a 10 o'clock break. When we come back after the break, Jerry Doherty from Making Money Last and Boston Independence Group will join us. We'll ask him a little bit about his take on what's going on economically. Of course, the Federal Reserve. We've got new chairs coming, all kinds of great stuff for that. But Iran, I like the way that Trump just doesn't fall into that. He doesn't fall for what presidents have fallen for, allowing Iran to always draw things out. I mean, they make fools of presidents doing this, fools of America. And Trump has just laid it down and said, we're not taking 15-hour flights every time you say, okay, we want to say something. Pick up the phone. When you're at a real serious conversation, we'll make the flight. But we're not doing that game. And when they're negotiations and they are trying to stall and BS it, they get up from the table and they walk away. And we've decimated their ability to communicate securely. So even the people who are at the negotiation can't make a call. They got to leave and go back to some mullah in a cave somewhere, run it by them to try to get the answer. It's just silly. It's silly. And the stuff that they really think that after everything we've done, lives lost, the amount of ammunition and armament and what we've gone through so far in this war, in quotes, that Trump's not going to stand fast on no nuclear ability or nuclear weapon ability. It's, of course, that's a deal breaker. It's a non-starter, folks. That's ridiculous. All right, folks, we're going to come up here on our break here. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. It's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. Our text line, 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. On the other side of the break, Jerry Doherty will join me here in our studio, virtual studio. And don't forget, we are streaming. So that means you can watch it on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. Stick with us, folks. We'll be back on the other side.
Headline news, weather, and local information. 830 WCRN.
Hello, Jerry Doherty.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
All right. Let's check your level. Say a couple things.
What would you like me to say, Joe? I'd like
sending
to pick
you
up
a
on a couple
check
of
for
things
$1 million.
I'd like to pick up on a few things that the previous caller spoke about
Yeah.
when you come back very quickly.
Yeah, we'll do that. I like your flag.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
It looks good.
A little Americana, Joe.
Where'd you get it from?
Believe it or not, it's just from Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah.
That's Jeff Bezos. Although, I just came to my attention the other day. He only owns like 9% now.
Does he really?
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk is also, he only owns like what, 6-7% of Tesla, but it's a lot of money for one guy to own billions of dollars worth of. But yeah, people think, oh, Elon Musk like owns it 100% or 90%, or Bezos. He's given a lot up on that, but his real money comes from AWS. So that's the Amazon Web Service.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say his real money comes from actually being a delivery driver. So he's
the last mile
of the
guy.
Company too. He's now.
I talked to him the other day. He brought some paper and ink. Yeah, it's great. All right, let's get back to this. You know the drill. So
yeah,
here we go.
That's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TAXI for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TAXI for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TAXI.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the 10 o'clock hour on the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Our text line, 617-297-8388. And now it's time to welcome in Jerry Doherty, who is the president and founder of Boston Independence Group in Westboro. And you know him from Making Money Last right here in WCRN. He helps families approaching retirement protect what they've earned, build reliable income strategies, and make smart decisions about taxes and Social Security, long-term care, and legacy planning. So as people look at the economy and the markets, inflation, taxes, the uncertainty in Washington, this is exactly the kind of steady, practical guidance that folks need. So Jerry Doherty joins us now. Jerry, welcome to the Sunday edition.
Oh, thank you, Joe. And it's great to be here this morning. And happy Sunday to everybody out there, even though it's a cloudy day here in New England. So,
yeah, I haven't had a need to go out of the house yet, but I can see it. But I always force myself to take a ride on a Sunday just to get out of the house, right? Yeah. It's too easy just to spend the weekend and not go out. So I do try to do that, folks. But before I ask you, and we get into your normal stuff, I know sometimes you were listening to the show earlier. Do you have you want to pick anything up from the first half hour?
Well, I wanted to pick up one thing, Joe. Your last caller was critical of that dog that was present during the most recent assassination
attempt. Don't pick on the dog
at the Hilton. And by the way, as most people probably know, that's known as the Hinckley Hilton.
Yep.
Is what they actually call it in Washington, D.C. So
1981, the Reagan attempted assassination was
exactly. It's not really a secure facility. But I heard Judge Jeanine Pirro, everybody knows Jeanine Pirro, interviewed this morning on, of all places, CNN with Jake Tapper. And he brought up the dog. And he said, gee, the timing was terrible, and the dog could have done something and all of that. And she was very clear. She said that was a bomb-sniffing dog. That was not a regular police dog that's, trained to do riot control and, is always on the alert for somebody making, jerky movements or quick movements or anything. She said it's actually a bomb-sniffing dog. So trained completely differently.
Yeah.
So I do think that when the caller was critical, saying that you said kind of facetiously, Joe, tongue in cheek, is the dog or was the dog handler complicit in this? As the last caller was saying, I think it's a bomb sniffing dog. I don't think the dog had training in seeing these jerky movements and all of this stuff. That's what I kind of gleamed out of what Jeanine Pirro was saying this morning. That it's a whole different skill set, if you will, for the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there again, Jerry, why is that? Why was it so easy for this guy to have access to that floor? I mean, all you have to do is just check in a couple of days earlier, and you have no security protocols. Once and I listened to some of the people, Campo Stuffi, Emily Campagna, all these who were saying when they checked in. Now they're looking back and they go, when we checked in, there was nothing. There was no security. It wasn't until, according to them, now they might have been unique, I don't know, but according to them, they didn't really get challenged till they were going into the actual ballroom. So they could have come down from their room with anything in their purse or anything under their jackets. They could have been walking around the hotel with anything. Their rooms were not secured. The luggage wasn't searched going in. So that just to me seems bad planning. That the hotel was not secured, not for a president with the level of threats and attempts on his life. I just don't think the Hilton was secure.
Yeah, I think also, Joe, it's probably, a very difficult facility to secure. I think that, you have these downtown hotels that I think make it very, very difficult to do that. And certainly, to your point, there seemed to be, to the lay person like you or me, there seemed to be some security lapses that were in place that, that very clearly need to be corrected. But it is interesting when you look at this new ballroom that's being built and the timing of this now third presidential assassination attempt and the new ballroom, the whole debate over the ballroom heating up, and it's already well under construction, for goodness sakes. It's going to be finished, I guess, in 2028. It's another example of Donald Trump having this unique ability to kind of look around corners. He really does have this ability to do this, to foresee what is about to happen. And I think that the ballroom is just one more example of this, that we need a secure facility for the president, for the entire cabinet that was there as well. And then the other thing in this interview this morning that I found interesting with Jeanine Pirro and Jake Tapper is that Jake Tapper, once again brought up this whole concept, this whole idea that was Donald Trump really the target of this assassination? And I got to tell you, boy, did she shut that down pretty quickly. She made it very clear. She said, look, Jake, it's not beyond the manifesto. He brought up that, that Donald Trump was incited specifically in the manifesto as the attempt of this specific assassination. But as she was saying, the suspect was actually tracking Donald Trump's movements. He was casing out the hotel relative to where Donald Trump was going to be in the hotel, all of that. She said that they have a very strong case that Donald Trump was indeed the intended, target of this.
Didn't it say in that, Jerry, that he was going to take out as many of Trump and Trump people as he could? I thought it was pretty black and white. I didn't read
in the manifesto. It does say that, but it doesn't specifically say that Donald Trump was going to be the target of this assassination. These are these
What's
hairs
he trying to do with
that
that?
the mains. I know. It's like during the first assassination attempt, in Butler, Pennsylvania. I remember one reporter saying, "Well, did the bullet really hit him, or was that something when he?"
Oh my God!
Bullets are whizzing by his head. And they're trying to belittle this thing. It's the millimeter miracle. Remember that?
The geniuses on The View and other left were talking about that this was all staged so that he could get the ballroom.
It's absurd.
It is so beyond absurd. And I want to go back to the ballroom for a second because, before it got stopped with the court order and everything, but when it all started and people complaining, on one of my shows, I did the real deep dive into the fact that, are you kidding me? This isn't even close to the original White House. At one point in the 50s, after World War II, do you know that the facade stayed up, but the entire interior was gutted, rebuilt with steel beams and security features, going back to the point earlier that you think that bulletproof glass was originally in the Oval Office? Of course not. It has a bunker. It has the Situation Room. In this ballroom, by the way, and I said it way back when it started, because people are like 200 million. Do you know why it's 200 million? Because they're actually expanding the bunker under the ballroom.
Correct.
The ballroom itself is going to have all security bulletproof. It's going to be drone proof. It's going to be attack proof. It's not a normal construction. It's not the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. It's the White House ballroom, again, with a intelligence, information center bunker under that ballroom, or what will be the ballroom, plus the fact that those walls and the windows and everything can sustain any kind of attack, and it's drone proof. So they have EMP pulse weapons. They've got all the sniper nests. It's just, it's needed. And this clearly shows the fact that every president has been asking for a ballroom or pointing out that, at the White House, the one thing we don't have that we really need to have is a ballroom, for Christ's sakes.
And it's privately funded.
And that's the other part. This isn't, however, how much was the basketball court? That was taxpayer money, right? Everything that's been done to the ballroom, the White House up to this ballroom has been taxpayer funds. So what is the bitch, right? What is the complaint? It's donors, but they got to twist that. 508-871-7000. Jerry Doherty from the show Making Money Less, and of course Boston Independence Group. Let's go to the phones. Gary in North Attleboro would like to join the conversation. Good morning, Gary. Jerry and I are.
Good morning, guys.
What's happening?
Good morning, guys. Well, I was listening to this thing about the assassination, and there were a couple of things, just two real quick things that I don't understand. One is, as you have rightly pointed out, Trump is a target, and this is now the third time he has been, got a close call. Let's just put it that way, where somebody got inside that perimeter. I do wonder about the wisdom of having not only him, but J.D. Vance and most of the cabinet there as well. Seems to me that's not a practice that they should continue for the rest of this administration.
Gary, let me ask you something there, because whenever they do like the state, the state of the state or joint session of Congress, you have the president, and of course you have the vice president as president of the Senate, but they have something called the designated survivor. And that's somebody a couple rungs down in the line of succession, and they're brought to a secure location far from that event for this purpose. If something catastrophic was to happen, wipe out the president, vice president, and maybe the speaker, whatever. But somewhere there's a cabinet member, fourth, fifth, maybe sixth in line, is taken somewhere. They're not even allowed to hang out at home. Like, they are literally taken to a non-disclosed secure location with a Secret Service detail in the event of something that happens, so that there's no question as to who is the president now, and they get sworn in immediately. Yes, not only did they have the vice president, the speaker, the secretary, like they had the next 8 secession on the dais, actually. And, so that's my point. This is like a joint session to Congress. That hotel, yes, Jerry, it wasn't secure, but it could have been secured, because they could have actually emptied the rooms or swept every single room, done a background check. If you're going to check in, you understand that you're going to be subjected to this. And yes, to have all of those people that are in the line sitting there, Gary, I don't make sense. And did you notice that they actually yanked Vance out of there faster than Trump?
Well, I mean, the thing is, too, is that they probably get less resistance from Vance. Vance, for all of his, as much as I like Trump, I somehow think you'd get an argument every time you try to move the man quickly. I just,
Well, he told him to stop and pick up his shoes in Butler, right? Remember that? They wanted to whisk him away. He said, "Hold on, grab my shoes." I mean, how? Yeah.
Well, the overall problem that I have with this too is that, I mean, let's face it, I didn't vote for number 8, and I will accept Vance. I would accept Rubio. I really wish you guys would not, because those are my 3 choices. I really don't want some, undersecretary of education running the joint if something bad happens, because they didn't think twice about it. Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to discuss real quick was, you were talking about the underlying criticism. First it was the press going on about how, well, this really wasn't all that secure an environment, which is a legitimate, talking point. But I remember I was getting dressed 3 times this week, and I heard that guy from ABC News, his name's Pierre something or other, and he's the White House correspondent for ABC, and he keeps going on about how, well, there's some controversy as to whether or not the one of the Secret Service agents was shot by friendly fire or by, the suspect. And then the next day, they're like, oh, no, it was the suspect. And then the third day, they're like, yes, but there was some controversy as to whether or not he was struck. You already know he wasn't struck by friendly fire. Why do you keep bringing it up? And I think somebody called this, they said it's a technique that the media uses called nesting. And they essentially nest an idea in your head of something. That's why they don't care what goes out first, as long as it's bad, for the administration. They put the idea in somebody's head once, because a lot of people don't do follow-up thinking. Like,
or read beyond the headline, Gary. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
They
it's an effective technique. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, Gary, I was going to say, you're so correct about that. They get way ahead of the story. They put out these hypotheses that they have about what has gone on, that this was actually, was the Secret Service agent shot by the suspect, or was he shot by friendly fire? This is before they have time to do any investigation. And it's pretty clear. They said that what they retrieved from the Secret Service agent's bulletproof vest, and I guess it also hit his cell phone, but what they retrieved from that was indeed a shotgun round. And the suspect, was barging through with a shotgun, shooting the shotgun. They knew from the very beginning, pretty close to the very beginning, the Secret Service did, that this was not a friendly fire incident, that it was a suspect, one of his rounds that went into the Secret Service agent's vest. But it wasn't definitive yet. They have to send the vest away for some type of analysis. And I'm sure that this was on a real fast track. It probably only took, a matter of hours for them to determine that. But in the meantime, the mainstream media, this is to your point, Gary, I think it's very important. They're trying to create this narrative that the Secret Service are a bunch of Keystone cops, and that the Trump administration has no idea what they're doing, going to these hotels. Security is not. The fact of the matter is, and Donald Trump brought this up in one of the interviews I saw with him over the past week, 3 assassination attempts have been stopped. Now, they might not have been perfect in their execution and how they were stopped, but ultimately, this suspect was stopped pretty quickly after he invaded that security barrier. And we can have all these theories out there about the dog being complicit in this thing and that it was actually friendly fire, all this nutty stuff, but that's not what the investigation is bearing out. These are competent people, but there are ways of getting into these things. Nothing is a perfect situation. It's the old adage, Gary, that the bad guys only have to be right once.
Yeah.
And the good guys have to be right 100% of the time. It's when you look at those odds. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would take your analogy one step further and say that there are levels of nesting. Like the first thing that came out on a lot of left-wing sites was another staged assassination attempt. Yeah. And that's just absurd. But it does start the whole ball rolling. They'll start with something patently absurd, and then later on, the other criticisms that will come in, they're lesser, but there's still that constant drumbeat, like you were just saying, of incompetence. And people should be reminded that, yes, this man did have 3 assassination attempts, but I believe that the first one, he was not in charge of the Secret Service at that time. That was Joe Biden. True. He was still candidate Trump at that point.
Right. And let's remember, too, that Donald Trump, prior to Butler, Pennsylvania, had requested Secret Service sniper protection and was denied. And Butler, Pennsylvania was the first Secret Service sniper protection afforded to Donald Trump. Think about the odds of of that happening. Had Donald Trump not been given that sniper protection, they would not have been able to take out that shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania.
As fast as they did.
As fast as they did.
And
they
the fact that they didn't even, now the assassin he used a drone. He was walking around with a drone and also the scope, and nobody challenged him. But the Secret Service did not have a drone because the drone operator was sick that day or some bizarre reason. I forget what it was.
Right. And the communications weren't all
But you're an outside event.
Yeah.
Of course you should have
Butler was a failure of absurd levels because they talk about a 360-degree view from the podium, and probably 70 or 80 degrees of that 360 degrees was not even guarded. And it's like, you sometimes wonder because, and this is one of those things that you do have to throw the seeds of doubt as to the competence of some people when you have failure after, because that was not the only thing. It was also the fact that there was no communication there. There were people that were pointing to the guy on the roof, and there were calls that were made, and nobody really did anything about it.
Think
and
about
you always
that,
wonder
Gary.
in the back of your head,
Gary, think about that, guys. Right, that people, and I saw those videos too. That the people going to see Trump and listen to Trump are actually seeing this man, this boy, on the roof, climbing up on the roof, and they're pointing and trying to get the attention of the police officers. And then I guess one of the local officers, a sheriff deputy, is saying, I can't leave this post, but okay, I'll call that in. So you had the people attending it seeming to do a better job of recognizing a threat. And then there was this massive communication breakdown that day in Butler that the Secret Service did not provide the radios to the local sheriff's department to get them on communication. So there was no direct communication between those guys. And that's another failure. You got the drones, you got the communication.
He was climbing up on the roof with a rifle.
Yeah,
it's just
If we ever noticed,
it's almost unbelievable. This is where truth is stranger than fiction. It's almost unbelievable that not only were there civilians, just non-police people, non-Secret Service people who saw this, just attendees at the event, but why didn't any of the police officers see this? Why didn't any of that exterior perimeter see this? Why didn't any of the people with, who are looking around, supposed to be observing what's going on in the perimeter, see any of this? It really is just was a remarkable.
And they tried
breakdown.
to throw the local sheriff's office under the bus. And remember, the sheriff came on, and he was content with just being quiet and letting. But then when the Secret Service threw them under the bus and said, well, actually, there should have been a local sheriff on that roof. But it was too hot for them to go up, and the high sheriff wasn't going to have any of that. He said, first of all, we did what we were told to do by the Secret Service. Nobody told us to cover that roof. And if they had, I don't care how hot or how cold it was, one of my guys would have been on that roof. So he got offended by that. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry, Gary.
That's not what happened.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gary.
All of this would be understandable if this was the first time that they ever had a protection detail for a president. But you would think that this sort of stuff would be, there would be a manual as long as your arm or as thick as your arm to be able to say, okay, these are the things that we need to do. And ultimately, the Secret Service cannot sit there and say, well, the sheriff wasn't there. It was your job to make sure the sheriff was there. It was your job to make sure that the hotel was clear. It was your job. And this is the sort of, Washington thinking that people are so entrenched in their jobs that they don't really have to worry about being fired. Because I've often wondered what happened to that detail from Pennsylvania. Was anybody fired, or did they do like they normally do and get promoted?
Yeah, well, the lead guy is actually head of Secret Service now. The guy that was standing to Trump's left, our right, looking at it. I guess he's been on the Trump detail forever and ever, and Trump made him, head of the Secret Service when he became president. Final thought, Gary. We're going to move on to more calls.
Well, the final thought is that if you want a prediction for what's going to happen the next time a Democrat gets into power, they're going to demolish the ballroom and immediately start, week after week of hearings about everything that went on during this administration, because that seems to be their main focus if you listen to every Democrat that's out there.
Absolutely. Gary, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. And not only that, there's a certain lack of wisdom in all these people, in members of Congress, telling us that when they get control, this is what we're going to do, because you've just set it up for malicious prosecution, guys. You're telling us now that you're going to hold hearings. You don't know if anything's wrong, but it's, again, show me the man, I'll show you the crime attitude. And Trump's going to be shooting this down if he doesn't pardon himself on the way out the door. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. By the way, texter 6662, big error in security that should not have had the president was going there keep this secret. I'm not sure what that means. VP should never have been there. Yeah, I mean, they have to be there sometimes, but when you have the president and vice president in the same room, I think security needs to be upped a little bit.
Just ask the Ayatollah, Joe.
Exactly. 508
in the same room.
Poor son. I guess he's missing a face and a leg and whatever. As Gutfeld says, he has to change his Grindr profile picture. Yeah,
he's actually never looking better.
So 508-871-7000. Let's go to Tom in Brockton, waiting patiently. Hey, Tom, what say you?
Well, number one, when Butler happened, I called a local radio station. I won't mention the call letters, but they needed every individual on that detail, whether it be local or Secret Service, needed to be put on the lie detector test. And here's why I say that. The sniper that shot this guy, it took 2 shots to shoot him at 140 yards. I've been shooting since age 12. And when you have a scope, even if it's a 3-9, and you're in a position to shoot and you're a highly trained sniper, 1 shot, 1 kill. That guy got off 8 rounds. I truly believe there are partisans within the Secret Service that would have loved to have seen Trump get his brain splattered open that day. And the other thing that leads to a conspiracy, CNN never in the past broadcast any of Trump's rallies live. That Saturday, when nobody's watching TV, they broadcast that live. The second point is, I forget who the subsidiary of BlackRock was, but the Friday before the assassination, they short sold a bunch of stock. And had Trump been assassinated, whatever that firm was, they would have made a ton of money. People in D.C. know these facts, and they've done nothing about it. Now, with regards to the last attempt on Trump's life, if there had been 5 individuals with AK-47s or AR-15s that had rushed that gate the way they had done, they would have been able to get into that ballroom and started opening up on people left and right. All of those people need to go under the Secret Service detail. They need to go under lie detector tests. There's something wrong here. And we've had a culture, at least since the Obama administration, even within our own military, of where I truly believe there are people in our military at this stage of the game that would gladly, if a general told them to open up on Trump and his supporters. You can call me paranoid, but I do think there are partisans, and it has happened in other nations in the past. And I would like to know what your thoughts are.
And it's what we have been warned about, Tom, right? Is the enemy
actually,
within.
Guys, I'm sorry, Jerry, before you get into it, we're against the break. I can't control that. So everybody keep that in mind. Tom, you can stay on the line. Jerry, hold your thought on that. We're going to have to take this quick break here. We'll do that. We'll come back on the other side, reminding folks 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Also, don't forget, we are streaming it live, so you can go to the station's Facebook page, YouTube channel, my social media stuff, at Joe Mangiacotti Show, X, Facebook, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and of course, Rumble. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side as we continue with Tom from Brockton and, of course, Jerry Doherty here on AM 830 WCRN.
WCRN.
Those things we most cherish are all put at risk through the improper disposal of mercury in everyday items. Fluorescent lamps, thermometers, thermostats all contain mercury. Mercury Recovery Program is designed to assist your community in the safe disposal of this heavy metal. For more information about where to dispose of these products, contact your local Board of Health, Department of Public Works, or visit our website at keepmercuryfromrising.org. Working together, we can keep our environment safe.
Attention all contractors. The Massachusetts Mercury Management Act makes it illegal to improperly dispose of old thermostats in the trash. They contain mercury that can be harmful to human health and the environment. Building and HVAC contractors, plumbers, and electricians, please properly dispose of all mercury thermostats. Contact your local health or public works department for information on where to safely dispose of thermostats in your community. Visit online, keepmercuryfromrising.org for details. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
Polar Park is the place to play. It's still the best ballpark in AAA. Unibank fireworks every Friday. Sunset catches every Saturday. And kids run the bases every Sunday. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 and get your tickets today. Polar Park is the place to play. It's still the best ballpark in AAA.
I don't think the CDC is redeemable. A lot of those people are very, very entrenched in the safe and effective narrative. And they also, many of these people, they have culpability, in particularly as it relates to the COVID crisis in terms of suppression of information, manipulation of data.
You okay, Stan?
In there are the ones
Okay.
that have dirty
Yes.
hands.
Do you know about the chat?
We put
Do you
thousands
see
of
the chat?
dollars. We're
Okay.
treated like chattel. The disrespect.
Yeah, Joe, I'll take, if it's okay with you, I'll take off at
has
11.
been long-standing and profound. This is just absurd. I'm just done with it.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the 11 o'clock hour. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and Jerry Dirty joins me in our virtual studio, host of Making Money Last, founder and president of Boston Independence Group. So if you're either in or close to retirement, you should be giving that man a call. He'll give you all the money you need for retirement. Is that how that works, Jerry? You just give him the money?
Loosely defined, Joe.
All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Russ is flying the board behind the glass back at HQ. We are streaming on the multiple platforms, so please join us there if you'd like to do that. We got some Twitch watchers. We've got some watching us on the station's Facebook page, my Facebook page. Good stuff there. And we do have a caller going into the break. It was Tom from Brockton. And Jerry, do you remember? Do we have to set it up again, or do you remember what we were talking about as far as in the lie detector thing, Tom? I agree 100%. After any incident like that thing, when you do your debriefing and your after action report and all, when you're in that kind of thing and you agree, right? FBI agents, Secret Service agents, Homeland Security, all those people. It's part of they understand it's part of the contract. It's not admissible in court, but it's a standard practice. As a matter of fact, if you're in any of those alphabet agencies, you're randomly pulled off, and you never know what's going to happen for just a random lie detector test. And it happens. So I agree 100%. And I hope that was part of their after actions. But Jerry.
Yeah, no, look, I think, you have to do an analysis after Butler, certainly. And, as Tom has brought up, now we have these other incidents that have gone on, whether it's at the golf course in Florida or whether it's at the Hinckley Hilton in Washington, D.C. And we need to find out what's going on. Look, I think, Tom's larger point, and Tom, I think you're right on the mark with this, is that there really has been a deep state. I think Donald Trump has been pretty, accurate in describing that over these many years, over the past 10 years. And I think that there are certain deep state actors that are entrenched in their positions, have been in there for a very long period of time. And a lot of them are not happy with Donald Trump. And it really is, their futures and their careers or Donald Trump, because he's exposing a lot of what's been going on in Washington, D.C. Tom has brought up that, he believes, and I think he's probably correct about this, that, some of these things could very well, some of these assassination attempts could very well have been aided by people on the inside. And I think that's obviously something that we have to look at and explore and just come to terms with it. That is, that holds the potential to be, part of this reality, because the circumstances of some of these attempts, and again, Tom, I'm not going to outline the whole thing like you did in Butler, Pennsylvania a few minutes ago, but the circumstances of some of these events are just too beyond the realm of believing as just, they happen this way. It just happened to unfold this way. It's just beyond the realm of believing that. So clearly, hopefully somebody is looking into that to see if there is somebody who's complicit on the inside. Yeah.
I would be surprised if there wasn't, Tom. I mean, because we saw this, of course, with the FBI, right? The insurance policy, Linda Stroke, the other, the affair there, and you had this little cabal, the FBI, Patel, Dan Bongino breaking that up. Then we find out about not the hidden. The rooms weren't hidden, but they didn't tell them about these rooms that just had tons of hard documents, paper documents, and I make that point for a reason, because I just saw Don Bongino's clip with Lawrence on Fox, and he was saying that it's upwards of 1.9 million documents, and they were not taken into FBI, and these all have to do with investigations into Trump and Trump-affiliated people. They weren't taken in the right way, meaning they weren't digitized. They weren't scanned and put into the FBI computer systems and bases where agents can look at it. They were kept separate, hardcore, put into boxes, put into rooms. And when the Patel the new administration came in, the knowledge that these boxes and these rooms existed was not conveyed. So they're not hidden rooms. I know the media kept saying hidden. No, the rooms weren't hidden. They just let the boxes sit there, drew no attention to them, hoping nobody stumbled across them. And according to Don Bongino, some of the people, good patriots, grabbed them and said, "Hey, we're so glad you're here. You should know about a couple of things," right? So you know that this is happening. And I go back to even the climate of attitude. And let's go back to 2016. He gets into office 2017, the first term. And a very good friend of mine who was with the State Department at the time, and this bothered me, Jerry and Tom, because they're saying throughout the State Department, these are people who have been there for decades, right? Their careers have been in the State Department, and their attitude was, look, presidents come and go. We've been here. I don't care what their foreign policy is. We're going to do what we always done and just do it. We don't care. He's going to be gone soon enough. And that they didn't, and this is someone, I know this because someone who works in embassies is telling me, these ambassadors who were left over and in the system, they weren't even replacing the president's picture. For almost a year, they left Barack Obama's picture up at embassies. I know that's petty, but it's representative that they just ignored the administration, from the picture being switched out to following the policy, the foreign policy of the sitting president that got elected on that policy. So is it not the people's wish that that's
Correct.
The policy we chose?
I was just going to say that same thing, Joe. This is the people's president. Let's remember, the president is elected by the people. It's the president's policies that the people have shown their support for.
Exactly.
So that's exactly what it is. But there is indeed a deep state that wants to perpetuate their own existence. And to your point, Joe, you stated it very well. Who believe that presidents come and presidents go, but we're still here, and we've been entrenched.
Tom, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I would just want to say one thing, that you mentioned the fact that they had paper documents that were never digitized. Let's go back to 9/11. Sandy Berger went into the National Archives and stuffed documents down his trousers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what were in those documents.
Yeah.
And
we never recovered.
We never
those
found
documents? Okay.
We never found out.
That's not good.
He paid a fine around $10,000. Other than that, he never really paid a price for that. But he went in to the National Archives, grabbed up some documents, and he served under Bill Clinton's administration. And all I can tell you is that I'm an odd duck, but I look at what Jimmy Carter did. He gave Pakistan nuclear technology under the afterwards, they detonated a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
It might have been during Reagan's term. Bill Clinton, his administration, his last name was Richardson. He was like an ambassador to Bill Richardson. They gave North Korea nuclear technology, and under the W. Bush administration, they detonated a nuclear weapon. President Obama freed up tens of billions of dollars for Iran to develop a nuclear program, which would slowly enrich uranium. I honestly believe Barack Obama wanted Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. I really do. I despise the man, for the record, and I regret that I voted for him in 2008. But the point being is I see a pattern here, and I see a pattern with people within the deep state. And like I said, maybe I'm paranoid. I don't care. You cannot insult me. But I do see a pattern, and I think there's going to be another attempt on Trump's life.
Tom, for the record, I don't think you've said anything that's outlandish or wicked conspiracy theorists. I agree with they should all have had lie detectors. Every agent involved from Butler to a week ago Saturday. They should be looked into. The after action report and the autopsy on those events should be deep dive into that. So and yes, we saw this Barack Obama, the small nuclear reactors technology, which we're now turning to. Barack Obama said 20 years ago, that's not a big thing. We're going to let that go out and give that away. Look, the difference between uranium that is used for nuclear energy and enriched to weapons grade is a centrifuge and some spins around. I mean, it's not massive leap there, and the fact that Iran in that agreement. And I watch I watch Hillary Clinton say things and the Barack Obama people. And then you got the talking heads, and they think it's this crowned achievement to say, well, they can't do this until 10 years down the road. In your head, was that did you fix it, or did you kick the can down the road? You've just made it a problem for American citizens and presidents 10 years down the road when you're saying you can't have nuclear weapons today, but you can at some point. No, it's either we stop you and you never have it because you're not a normal government. This was a coup in 1979 by religious zealots who want Sharia law to govern the world. It's not a normal government that's playing by normal diplomacy and rules of engagement. Do you want that? I don't want any religion running my government, right? I mean, that's the whole purpose. Our founding fathers saw the danger in making one religion a forced religion. That's the separate. By the way, that's the distinction between separation of church and state. It's that we can't have a forced religion upon us. You have the right to worship whoever you want, and you have the right not to worship anybody. And the government needs to be secular. It needs to be independent of religion, but hopefully the foundation of religion, like we were a Christian country and born as a Christian company, we have those values in place. Right, because it keeps people from blowing up the world. When you've got people who want to blow up the world because they're under this complete idiotic assumption that there's 72 virgins waiting for them, what do the women get, by the way? And who says they're going to be women virgins? What if they're male virgins? What if they're sheep virgin? I don't know. Is it defined by Muhammad? I don't think so. It's just silly to think that they should be. This is an organization that declared war on us by an act of war when they invaded our embassy, took 52 hostages for 444 days, and they have killed over 1,500 Americans since 1979. How do you not understand this? And then we got the jamokes back here calling this guy a fascist and then putting out all these women at these protests in the red Handmaid's Tale thing, where you have an actual country that they're defending, in essence, who actually are a Handmaid's Tale living, where women are chattel, where they don't even rate. They're not allowed to teach, to drive, to go outside. Either their father, their husband, or their brother controls their life. And we don't have a problem with that as a country.
All I can tell you is I try to have these rational discussions on Facebook with the white liberals I went to high school with. And it goes in one ear and out the other. They cannot make the connection between Western feminism and how evil Islam can be with regards to women's rights. They cannot make that connection. And it's like, well, wait a minute, maybe because in a prior life, I was an electrician, and if the power goes out, what do? Process of elimination. Number one, go to the circuit breaker box. It's just,
you work your way through and solve the issue. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tom, all I can tell you is be careful of that Facebook hole, because I have to control myself when somebody makes a comment on a post. Don't engage. I just finally came up with the standard response saying, hey, I'm on the air at this time. Here's the call-in number. If I have to deal with you, I should get paid for it. That's just my attitude on that. Tom, final thought here, because we're going to move on.
I see gas prices increasing, and all I can say is that Trump really needs to make it clear to the nation of what the objective here is. Mm-hmm. And he's got to do a better job of messaging that, yes, there is going to be some pain. And let's go back to when Russia invaded Ukraine. We were told by talking heads that in order for democracy to thrive, we have to deal with the fact that there's $5 a gallon gas prices, because we cannot let a fascist like Vladimir Putin win in the battle against Ukraine. Trump has got to make a similar argument about that and just explain the fact and just show past quotes of how if Iran ever did get a nuclear weapon, they would use it on Israel. And if that were to happen, you would see world markets plummet. And he needs to make the case that your Social Security could be in jeopardy and your pension plans could be in jeopardy.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom.
The world could be in jeopardy.
And that's the point. Yeah. Tom, thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Hey, Joe, can I pick up on one thing?
Yeah, please.
I was just going to pick up on that last comment that Tom made. Tom, what a fantastic caller. Hopefully Tom will be join us on future programs, Joe. It is true the gas prices have really spiked since the war began, 8 weeks ago or so, a couple of months ago. There's no question about that. The gas prices have really spiked and everything else. But different than in the past, different with the situation with Russia and Ukraine, is that President Trump put the economy in a position where the economy can absorb the shock. This week I was really kind of intrigued watching Secretary of War Pete Hegseth in front of Congress. And he was challenged by Seth Moulton, from Massachusetts, right here in Massachusetts. And Seth Moulton was saying, how much is this war costing the average American? And, of course, as expected, Pete Hegseth was saying, well, how much would a nuclear Iran cost the average American? Really good point. But I wish that Pete Hegseth had drilled down on that a little bit more, because Seth Moulton has said that the war in Iran is costing the average American $600 a year. That's what he said. He said it's costing the average American $600 that they do not have. They're paying more money at the gas pump and all that stuff. That may be true. I'm not quite sure where he gets that number from, but let's just for the moment accept it. Let's just stipulate that Seth Moulton's number is true, that it's costing the average American $600. Donald Trump right now has put into place the highest tax refunds that we've ever had in history. He has taken inflation from the Biden, 9% inflation rate during 2022, all the way down to a much lower number. And when you look at these inflation numbers, when you look at core inflation, both on the PCE that the Federal Reserve likes to use or on the CPI, and you look at the core that excludes energy, these numbers are not too far away from the Fed's target. The CPI, the core CPI is 2.6%. The Fed's target is 2%. And the core PCE is 3.2%. The Fed's target is 2%. Again, they're not that far away. This is really kind of an energy story, that the average American has saved more than $600. You know, these tax refunds, this go around, are on the order of like $3,500, Joe. They're way up.
People are getting more money back than they have before. Real wages have increased.
Yeah. But just me on my point, this is my final point. My point in all of this is that the Trump administration prepared the U.S. economy to absorb a momentary shock. And the economy, by the way, has been much more resilient than anybody had anticipated. It's doing much better than what anybody anticipated, despite the war. But he prepared the Americans for this. So overall, we have incomes rising. We have inflation that's falling. Yes, we have high energy prices. But on an overall basis, people are still better off. And I think the average person does feel that. I think intellectually, the average person can understand that and, you know, can deal with that for a momentary shock to the economy to get rid of a nuclear Iran.
And Tom, I get what you're saying. I mean, I think that Trump has and his people have made this point, but again, we're kind of tuned into this. And maybe they do need to get this drilled down to the low information voter, the people who are working very hard to keep the roof over their head, the food on the table. They don't have the luxury or the requirement to digest as much news as maybe we do because out of our necessity. But it's out there. But you know who does digest that and who does get it are the markets, because the stock market, which is based on estimated futures, has reflected the confidence in this president that there is a plan. And I think we, as citizens who put him in office, and part of the reason we returned him to office is because we got that very drastic distinction between Trump first term, Biden term, then that dredged up some bad memories of the Obama years and said, we need to put this guy back in office. We need another course correction. So I think he's earned the courtesy of us letting this play out. And this man, meaning Donald Trump, is not going to have a forever war. He doesn't do things without a conclusion in mind, without a plan. And he did, to your point, Jerry, he did say, look, yeah, it's going to spike. But as soon as this happens, like the Strait of Hormuz, the deal is done, oil is going to plummet. And it is, because guess what? There's a glut of it in the Oman ocean there, and in the Strait of Hormuz. There's a glut. There's so much oil because they can't get it out. And where is everybody coming to right now? We're producing more oil than we've ever had before, ever produced before. And that's why they were jacking up the price at the Panama Canal, Jerry, up to $2 million to go through the Panama Canal, because they're rerouting all these ships to come get the oil from the United States.
Joe, we right now are refining the Venezuelan oil. We've already started doing that. You know, this is how quickly this seems to be happening. And right now, it shouldn't be lost on the average person out there that the United States is producing more energy than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Just think about that. Mm-hmm. We produce here in the United States more energy than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. And that's only going to be going up. The United States doesn't have a supply problem. It's parts of the world that depend either on Russian oil or on oil from the Middle East that has to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Those are the countries that are going to have energy problems. Those are the countries that have seen gas and oil prices spike. Right now here in the United States, the oil market has reacted far more favorably than it did under previous crises, like the Ukraine-Russia situation. You know, we had oil at some of these going up to $140 and $150 a barrel. We've seen oil nowhere near that range. We've seen oil certainly go up to 110 and 115, but we haven't seen it at those types of prices, $150 a barrel. And it still is cheaper today, gasoline at the pump, than it was under the height of the Biden administration. But we're actually getting something for this pain. What we're getting for this is we're getting a non-nuclear Iran. Just think about what that means for your children.
We're getting a future.
And for your grandchildren. And it's not only the region, the world is safer. We need a safe Middle East. There's no question. And all the lines are being redrawn. We're starting to become very chummy with a lot of people in the Middle East. And don't forget, too, this week, Joe, another thing on the energy story, there was a big story, is UAE, the United Arab Emirates. They have pulled out of OPEC.
OPEC Plus.
Just think about that. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. They're starting to make independent decisions. But the United States right now, Donald Trump, by the numbers that I see, he controls roughly 1/3 of the world's oil flow right now. 1/3 of the world's oil flow is controlled by the president of the United States.
Isn't that crazy?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, crazy.
It's simply unbelievable.
And again, just to go back without drilling down too much on that, it's almost as if this is a hell of a happenstance, but almost as if this was by design in the order in which these things happen, right, with Venezuela and so forth, and then Iran, because all of a sudden the world has shifted their attention to the United States to get their energy, and this whole threat of moving off of what we call the petrodollar has been eliminated too. Because this is the other thing that Trump has to do after Biden actually started to screw that up. That's what that breathed life into the BRICS nations, and the BRICS nations wanted to go into another currency. And the thing that has kept us and our economy incredibly resilient and basically unable to die since 1973 is that golden pact that was made with Saudi Arabia back in the day. But the time-wise, Jerry, I know you gotta leave, so let me ask you now, how are things at Boston Independence Group? Do you have any of your college courses coming up that we need to know about?
I do. I actually have 2 courses starting this week, how to build your own retirement plan. One will be at the University of Massachusetts at Lowell, at the Lowell campus, and one will be at Northern Essex Community College at their Haverhill campus. So both in that area. If you'd like to learn more about those classes or register, they're completely free. They're given through a nonprofit that I'm an instructor with. You can simply go to my website, which is bostonindependencegroup.com, bostonindependencegroup.com. When you visit that site, just click on the events tab, and it will show all of the upcoming courses that we have remaining for the second quarter. We'll be doing another one at a new venue, at Dean College in Franklin, Massachusetts in June as well. So that'll be good. Oh, is that right? I didn't know that, Joe.
Yeah. It was a junior college. I went there before I went off to do other things, but yeah.
Yeah, it's known as the Harvard of Southeastern Mass, Joe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, actually, I think a Dean mug is somewhere in this office in one of these shelves. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm looking at a Dean mug. So
yeah, that was cute. That was fast. Good for you. Where are some of the locations, Jerry? You said Lowell. I know you do Framingham, you do Worcester.
I do Framingham State University, right on Route 9 in Framingham. We'll be back at Framingham State, I believe, in August or September. We do Worcester State University, UMass Lowell, Northern Essex Community College, and then Dean College in Franklin.
And you have offices scattered throughout, so you don't have to go all the way to Westboro. Is the bottom line.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. My second biggest office is actually in Andover. I spend probably about 1/3 of my time at Brickstone Square in Andover. So I'm there as well.
Okay. Phone number?
My telephone number is very easy to remember. Telephone number, Joe. Does everybody have a pen handy? It's 877-772-1776. Again, that's 877-772-1776. Very patriotic.
All right. Thank you, Jerry Doherty.
Thank
Enjoy
you,
the rest
Joe.
of your day. That will wrap up Jerry's time with us today. Stick with us, 508-871-7000. We'll be back on the other side.
Thank you, Joe.
This is WCRN, Worcester.
Hey. You got big plans? You staying home or you headed out?
I'm at home right now. Let me call you though later on, Joe. I'm going to run. Okay.
I'll be home all day. Thank you. Take care.
I'll talk to you soon.
5,000 U.S. troops out of Germany over what he says is a lack of NATO support for the U.S. mission in Iran. Thousands of travelers need options after the demise of Spirit Airlines, which went through 2 bankruptcies in 2 years. But
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, though, calling out the Biden administration for killing a merger with JetBlue that he says could have saved the airline.
Fox's Madeline Rivera in D.C. A federal judge, though, had ruled against Spirit Airlines' proposed merger with JetBlue because of concerns that the deal would drive up prices. America's listening to Fox News.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TAXI for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TAXI for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TAXI.
All right, folks, here. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are in the 11 a.m. hour here, final hour of the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Actually, starting next Sunday, the show will go back to its original 3 hours of 9 to noon. The float will move back or up from 8:30 to 9 on Sundays. So everything, Data Day, the float, and then the Joe Mangiacotti Show, formerly Peter Bluth Show, will take place 9 a.m. to noon here on Radio Central. And of course, guys, we're always streaming the TuneIn app, which means that you can take us anywhere. It's a feature I really enjoy. And don't forget that I do stream the show always on multiple platforms, the station's Facebook page, YouTube channel, as well as my stuff. So you can do it, again, multiple ways, Rumble and so forth. But this hour, guys, this hour of the Joe Mangiacotti Show is sponsored in part by Heart to Home Meals, delicious, ready-to-heat meals for seniors delivered free with no subscription required. And I do use them. I have had their meals. There's some in my freezer right now. And once they assign somebody to your route, they really do everything they can to keep that person on that route so that they understand whatever your situation is, and they don't drop it at your door. This isn't door and dash, okay? They bring it into your home. They put it into your freezer. They'll even rotate the meals for you. And they will be very accommodating if you're going to be away on your delivery date or you have a function or something coming up. But check it out, Heart to Home Meals. Absolutely a great service, and we want to thank them for sponsoring this hour of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. And we'll hear more about them in a little while. 508-871-7000. That's how you join the conversation. Russ is behind the glass flying the board back at HQ, and our text line is up and running as well. 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. So that takes care of some housekeeping for the third and final hour. Let's go to the phones. Ken in New Hampshire is waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Good morning, Joe. I've got a couple new topics.
Okay. We do that Sunday. You can talk about whatever you want. You want to bring something up? Feel free to do that, guys.
Well, you know, I cover a lot of news sources. I count anybody that say they cover more news sources than I do.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. There's a lot. You got to spend a lot of time doing that. I think you should make show notes for me, Ken.
Well, I got one for you. with all the sources I have, only one put this one two together. There was a joint session this week, I think Wednesday or Thursday, where the party champion No Kings was cheering for King Charles, brother's a pedophile. Can you imagine that? And we're not talking about this?
Standing, by the way. Right? All the Democratic members of Congress or and Senate in the joint session stood and applauded an actual king in the chamber. You can't write this stuff out. You can make it up, Ken.
We've got to beat this drum for the next 6 months. They are as big a hypocrites as we've ever seen in our lives. Period.
I got to tell you, did you see him on 60, meaning Trump, on 60 Minutes? Because he quipped, and it's a great response to this. And he said, I'm not a king. If I was a king, I wouldn't have to be talking to you. It was really, and it's true. If he was a king, he wouldn't have to put up with these stupid questions from reporters. He wouldn't have to put up with the coverage that they give him. He wouldn't have to deal with anything, including the protests. And kings aren't elected. And here's my thing on this, Ken. When all these people with this no kings and Trump wants to be a dictator and who cares what he wants? Even if it was true, who cares what he wants? You don't have enough confidence in our American system, in our American government, this brilliant government that was formed by our founding fathers in a moment. And there's only a few moments in history where such brilliance can come together and strike it like it did and create out of necessity, because of a king, by the way, this form of government with 3 independent and equal branches of government with checks and balances. So no president can become a dictator. And that's what the founding fathers ensured. And even back in the day, King George was very impressed because you had the commander of the Revolutionary Forces, George Washington, General George Washington. After the war was completed, what did he do? He went to the Continental Congress and he turned back his sword and his commission and resigned it. And King George said, look, a man who just defeated the most powerful navy and military on the planet, he could have seized power for the rest of his life. He could have declared himself king of the new Americas, and he didn't. He surrendered that power voluntarily, and that was the seed of this government going forward. You know, not the seed, but you know what I'm saying. It set the tone of how the future of America will be.
So the point is, for any people listening, consider yourself either center or to the right of center. You come across somebody, I'm guessing every day. You live in Massachusetts, every day you come across people that are leftists. And you just simply remind them, are you for King Charles? Whose brother's a pedophile? Is that what you're for?
Well, in the Windsor's defense, Ken, I mean, not only did King Charles, but the Queen, they did start stripping him of royal duties, I mean, now he got evicted from a royal house. Now he's living in one of King Charles's private properties. And I don't want to use the wrong word, Ken, but when they actually arrested former Prince Andrew, I appreciated that, because I wasn't excited, but they arrested him for not what he should have been arrested for. Remember, they arrested him because of information he might have shared, which is still bad. But what I'm saying is the fact that we're at a point where the Metropolitan Police had no problem putting the cuffs on a former royal. You know what I mean? We've come a long way. That would not have happened. Not even, a short time ago, that wouldn't have happened. But he's a bad egg. He always has, right? Randy Andy, they used to call him back in the day.
Well, the left only gives King Charles a pass. Why? Oh, because he's an environmentalist like them.
Yeah. Thank God he doesn't have any real power.
Right.
You know.
But crossing over to my second issue. What are we to call the other party? I said last week they're the open borders, Marxist Islamists. We can also call them the Piker Plattner Party. Triple P, Piker Plattner Party. What do you like that one? And how in the world do they embrace Piker and Plattner?
Can we talk about Plattner for a second? And for those that might not focus in yet, Plattner is the Democrat in Maine who didn't look like he had a shot because the one who dropped out, the former governor running for senator. What's her name? Mills. So she dropped out, which all of a sudden elevated Plattner to the leading Democrat in a pretty good chance. There is a chance that this guy could actually be elected in the state of Maine and become a sitting United States senator. And even, you got Elizabeth Warren out there he's really meeting with the people of Maine and, he's turned it around, but she's going after Pete Hegseth because of his tattoos, which none of them, by the way, are Nazi symbolism. And it's not just the tattoos, guys. If you look at his posts, and yes, I understand I said things at 22 that I'd be embarrassed if I heard them again today. Absolutely. I think we're all on that. But this is where they're at. They're defending this guy. And the amount of just politics, right? The personal part of the politics that are affecting everything. We cannot have our government functioning normally where people are operating on this, where they can't divorce themselves of their biases and agendas and look at what is best for the country, what policies are best, not based on who came up with them or who's going to sign the legislation, but is it a good policy? Is it a good thing? Who's going to represent us the way we want to be represented? Because we're not a democracy. We're a republic. We're elected republic. We ask people to go to DC, to go to our state capitals and do our bidding for us. And yes, so you got Plattner. And then for this Piker character, why are all the left in the media and Fox and others are putting clips of this guy on, but this guy all of a sudden, who's complete out of his mind, if you go listen to the stuff he says, he's calling for straight out assassination of a president. He's saying that stealing from corporations is not only justified, but required for you to do, totally against police. Why are they giving this guy oxygen? Why are they letting him breathe? And why are they could just ignore him and he would, but I think the New York Times, didn't they platform him on their podcast stuff?
Absolutely. A week ago Wednesday. Oh, and they were fawning over all the things. Doesn't he look handsome? He's a Marxist Islamist. It's very dangerous. Both of these guys, Joe, Piker and Plattner, are big-time sexual abusers, feminists. Wake up. You're going to destroy your party. But we have to point it out over and over and over again for the next 6 months.
Ken, you do digest a lot. And I've noticed in the last few weeks that at the rallies and online and stuff, the term, they're now, again, or I don't even remember them doing this in the past, but they're applying the term pedophile to Trump, which where is this coming from? Why? Who decided? Soros or who decided now to keep saying Trump is a pedophile? Trump is a pedophile, and it wasn't that manifest left by the shooter last week in the 60 Minutes interview. She reads it from it, And of course, he's just, if you look at any of that stuff, Ken, he's just regurgitating basically the talking points of the left media. And he puts it up there, and Trump says, that's disgusting that you're reading that. You know, it's not true. I'm not that. Why would you read that? And she's, well, he wrote it. Yeah, he wrote it, but you've decided to read it. You've decided to repeat it. And then you got the low information, and I'm assuming fairly either low IQ or ignorant people in these protests who are saying, well, he's a pedophile. And as soon as there's a pushback and you say, well, why do you say that? Based on what? Well, somebody said it, or so I heard it somewhere. They don't know what they're talking about. And I think Trump needs to slap lawsuits on anybody that he can get slander or libel on. It's harder to do it with media because there's more protections, but it can happen. Why, all of a sudden they've decided to do this into the caller, to the earlier caller's point, is they're nesting that. They're planting that seed. They're trying to repeat Trump as a pedophile over and over again. And he's never, to my knowledge, he's never been, accused of that in a meaningful way, or much less convicted of anything like that. So where is that coming from? Have you noticed that trend in the last, say, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Of course, they're going double, triple downing. You're speaking of Norah O'Donnell's CBS. I thought CBS wasn't as bad as ABC and NBC. Yeah, they're all bad, and they're getting worse, and they're getting desperate. They're losing, and you have to point out that the people they're accusing Trump, as you're just describing, when it's their people, they're deflecting.
Yeah.
But they're so desperate to have a fourth assassin attempt. They want to feed that desperately. There's just no hiding it anymore. That's who they are. Defend it. Lefties. In your face.
Wow.
You don't have an argument anymore. You've lost them all.
I wish it was really that simple, but you've had arguments or discussions with very left people, and they have this real, if you don't agree with me, then they stop listening to you. They don't have a dialogue. They just deem you either unintelligent or racist, bigoted, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic, whatever phobia you want to apply to it, because when you get down to it, most of these positions cannot sustain a debate of logic and point for point, right? So they've got to resort to that. It's very hard. To me, I've come to the point, other than on radio and stuff, look, in my personal life, family life, I always make this assessment: what's to be gained, what's to be lost. Can you have a common sense conversation with somebody living in that bubble, and they have more faith in their position, regardless of how erroneous it is, than a devout Catholic has with their faith? So where are you going to get with that conversation? Is it better to say, hey, smile, nod, and then change the subject? Or do you try to bash your head against the wall?
No, Joe, here's the point. What I've just done has been very effusive in my points, because I know most of your audience is kind of right. I'm trying to yell, wake up. But when you talk to those who are left of center, you actually need to do the opposite. You have to be very calm and blunt. Put the connect the dots, as I just did, in very quick fashion, in less than 30 seconds. And then just finish it with, make them think. That's what we're missing so much.
Yeah.
People emote on the left. And if you just slowly get them to think and like, why would I be for that? And if they start down that trail, then we're starting to pull them. And if that works one-on-one, each person to which that works one-on-one, hug them. Seriously.
Did you say hug them?
I think hug them after you start to get them to think.
Oh.
don't brandish the left when you deal with them one-on-one. That'll just put them right into their hole. They'll go back. It's so easy to live in Massachusetts and be in a blue bubble and never hear when anybody speaks to the right. They just block them. Once you start to get to their heart and to their brain, then hug them and bring them over slowly.
You are saying hug, H-U-G.
H-U-G, hug them.
Okay.
Whether it be literally or mentally.
Emotionally.
Whichever works, or both.
Okay.
Let me give you a little example. I got in an accident a week and a half ago. I got rear-ended. Obviously, it wasn't my fault. It was a 16-year-old. I said, "Did you see me?" I was turning left and right up my rear end. Like, whoa! I felt like I was at the amusement park all of a sudden. Nothing serious damage. I got out, and she was pouting. Said, "Did you see my signal?" "No, I'm so sorry." I hugged her. That's what she needed then. And we have to have these type of attitudes, or they're just going to tear the future of our kids and grandkids down. We have to bring back the attitudes of what made this nation. So when a King Charles goes up, I could care less. You know why, Joe? Because my 13-foot.
Did I lose you? Russ?
I don't know what happened.
Oh, Ken, we lost you. You just dropped. Sorry about that. Well, thank you for the call. I was paying attention, Russ. I was waiting for the final sentence there in conclusion. Sorry about that, guys. All right, let's move on here. I want to remind you that Heart to Home Meals, they deliver the chef-prepared, ready-to-eat frozen meals. They're designed with seniors in mind, by the way, and they do the right to the door, and not just the door. They'll bring them in. They'll load them into your freezer. They even rotate the food for you. So what's already on there, they'll pull to the front. They'll put the stuff that just got delivered further back so that it's easy for you to just pull out what you need. Over 150 choices. There's something for every taste, including options for special diets. So if you have a special diet or you can't eat certain things, don't worry. There's still a big selection there. And ordering with Heart to Home Meals is so simple. There is no subscription, no minimum order, no hidden fees, and delivery is always free. So you go online to Heart to Home Meals site, right? You pick what you want, you load it in there, boom. You're not going to get delivery fee at the end of the checkout or anything like that. That's what you're paying for it. And again, and I've used them, and they basically, you get the person who has your area, and they do everything they can to make sure that the same person is always delivering. So you know how you get all those little issues you have sometimes with delivery, and especially if you're an apartment or a condo building, on how to get into the building, how to buzz you, where to go. Anyway, same driver all the time. It helps lessen that. No subscription, so you don't put your credit card in and then you kind of forget about it, and all of a sudden you get in charge and you're like, what's that for? No, not happening. So hey, this year, skip the guesswork and give comfort, convenience, and peace of mind. If you have somebody in your life, your parents or something, elder neighbors, friends that might need this, share the word. Heart to Home Meals, a thoughtful gift any time of the year, folks. So check them out. It is a great service, and again, I've used them myself. Ken, what happened to you, man? You just dropped off in mid-sentence.
I have no idea, Joe. There must be bad gremlins. So I call it that.
The
leftist
gremlins.
Whatever.
So finish your sentence. You're coming up to the end of your thought there.
So I have a relative, grandfather, how many generations removed, 1590s, was imprisoned in Britain for his religious beliefs multiple times.
He didn't learn his lesson, huh?
So do you think I like kings? Oh, I'm with the no kings, just not those people. So here's my point. Who was his daughter? Well, a statue of her is in front of the Beacon Hill.
Oh yeah, you told us this before. Yeah,
Ann Hutchinson, with her daughter, who had no reason to survive other than having red hair at the age of 9, and the Indians were captivated by that.
They've never
Somehow
seen it.
She
Yeah.
survived, and that's my lineage. So yeah, that's why I have passionate beliefs, as you've been hearing.
Yeah. I don't know who came up with this on the left movement and decide to use the term and try to put king onto Trump. It just doesn't make sense, guys. It doesn't make sense. We don't have it. We don't have kings. We got rid of the king. That was the whole point of the whole revolution. It doesn't make any sense. Got to move on, Ken. Any final thought?
Sorry. No, that's about it, Joe.
Okay. Thank you for the call. Always greatly appreciated. 508-871-7000 is how you join the conversation. Let's go to Don in Stoughton waiting patiently. Hey, Don, you look marvelous.
Boy, you need a good eye checkup then, my friend. Hey, yeah, no, a couple of quickies. Yeah, what the Democrats believe in just proves that no matter how stupid you are, you can still be a Democrat voter. But I mean, it's just incredible. And as Ken was saying, I've done this nearly forever. I always leave opposing parties with questions they cannot answer. They stumble and mumble away. And I do it very nicely. Well, Chicas, can you name me a Democrat program that has ever succeeded, such to the point that it's no longer needed? The silence is deafening.
Mm-hmm.
How about the war on poverty? I had one woman down in North Carolina complaining. I says, but you do know that there were 21 million more voters in 2020 than there was in 2016, and 21 million fewer voters in 2024. Can you tell me what happened to them? Again, the silence. So, as Ken was saying, leave the opposition with questions they can't answer, Joe. That's how you finally pull them in, because if they can't answer it, now they're in a state of utter confusion. They're trying to figure out, well, geez, that guy asked me, I have no answer for that. And then they start asking their friends and they realize there is no answer, Joe.
Yeah. No. Or even, please, because we've got this generation, maybe even generations, who are basically pro-communism in this country, and they're trying to say, oh, it's great, especially these college kids who they look at paper, and on paper, I guess it looks okay, but they have lived their life with the benefit of not being in a communist country, in a capitalist country, and operating under that. So they don't know what it is when people who have escaped those communism countries are here in the United States. You can go talk to somebody from Cuba or one of these North Korea. There's a gentleman who escaped North Korea. He's out in California. He's online. He will go out and hold a sign up, escape North Korea, ask me a question. And they have this privilege of not understanding what it really means. And you ask them, Dawn, where has communism worked on the planet?
Yes,
Please
exactly.
Name a country or a government where this worked and where they haven't been trying to escape.
Right. Where are the people from the communist countries coming here telling you how wonderful it is back home? Well, there ain't any. Look at Lieutenant Victor Bilyenko. In August of '76, he landed the Foxbat jet in Japan.
Yeah.
And they found out it was made out of steel and had 2 radios and everything else.
Yeah,
But
Don, let me pause you there because it's a hard break. I can't control it. If you could stay on the line and pick your point up in your story on the other side, I'd appreciate that because I want to hear what you have to say. Folks, we're going to take our final break here on the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830, WCRN, Radio Central, 508-871-7000. We'll be back with Dawn on the other side.
Dr. Satya Mitra has journeyed from a childhood of poverty and homelessness to a successful career as a financial advisor, motivational speaker, and community leader. Now inspired by his guru, he uses his experiences to positively affect the lives of underprivileged people. We strive to house our blindness, poverty, homelessness, female empowerment, and good citizenship initiatives within the Joy Guru Humanitarian Center. If you wish to contribute or know of deserving persons or initiatives that could use our assistance, please contact us at 508-641-8441.
Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you will destroy your life. Listen to The Float Line with your host, Rick Hughes, every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. here on AM 830 WCRN. The Float Line describes a main line of resistance in your soul, built on God's Word. Join us every Sunday for 30 minutes of inspiration, motivation, education, all without manipulation. That's The Float Line with Rick Hughes, heard here on AM 830 WCRN every Sunday at 9 a.m. If you've ever worried about a parent or a loved one eating well, here's a simple solution. Heart to Home Meals delivers great tasting, ready-to-eat frozen meals made with seniors in mind. With over 150 choices, it's easy to find meals that fit different tastes and dietary needs. There's no subscription and no minimum order. And delivery is always free. Heart to Home Meals, a smart, comforting way to make sure good food is always close by. HeartToHomeMeals.com.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the final segment here on the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. And going forward, every Sunday 9 to noon, please join us here. We take a look at the previous week and we open the lines for whatever it is you want to get out there and talk about. Always we'll do that on every Sunday. The Float Line we'll just move to 8:30 to 9 starting next Sunday. And so you can tune that in. You have Wellness Wave Radio, Data Day, The Float, and then we'll take it to noon here on Sunday mornings. 508-871-7000. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the show. And you can, of course, text us in real time at 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. And a reminder that this hour is brought to you in part by Heart to Home Meals, and they deliver chef-prepared, ready-to-eat frozen meals designed with seniors in mind, right to the door. Tons of choices, over 150 choices, and there's something for every taste. And going into the break, Dawn was making a point, and yes, the point is, or at least I was absolutely, because I've had that conversation with people who have had the privilege of not having to live under communism. Show me where it has worked. Show me where it hasn't resulted in the government exterminating thousands, if not millions of lives. And I've approached some of these, like in Worcester, there'd be the street fairs and I would see the banner at their table and there's a college kid, several college kids there, Dawn, Communist Party of Massachusetts or whatever they call themselves. And I'd ask the simple question, how does this work? How does it get into the conversation? A few questions, and then ask the simple question, and where does that money come from? Well, the government. No, I got it. But the government doesn't make money. They have to take it from where? Well, taxes, right. So once you get them to walk their way through it, they get into this dead end and they realize, well, I don't know where well, it's got to come from somewhere, right? And all of a sudden they start glitching. Sometimes they even get an eye twitch. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's funny, but like with Lieutenant Victor Bilyenko, he brought a Foxbat jet to Japan, landed it in August of '76. And of course, the CIA and everybody went over it and that day, and they returned it to Russia in pieces. But the Russian government was begging Victor to please come back. Well, Viktor Bilyenko explained why he refused. One of the biggest, worst things, Joe, he was an officer in the Russian Air Force, and he lived in these apartments. They were like 2 deep, front and rear. They were about 4 or 5 stories tall, and I'll say about 10 or 15 apartments long. The damn building was falling apart on the length. So you know how the Russians fixed it? They ran I-beams through the top of the building and then cinched the building back together because he used to do pull-ups on the beam, Joe. This is how bad it was. Yeah. Trying to get food was almost impossible. I mean, he was way out in the eastern part of Russia, out by the Pacific Ocean, which was, again, close to Japan. But, oh, yeah, your wife misses you, your baby misses you, blah, 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 blah. But, he says, I don't believe you. Everything you've told me about Russia is a lie. Mm-hmm. So they took him to the United States, and he could not believe the supermarkets. Oh, he couldn't believe the department store. He says, well, these are all just for special people. The guy with him took out a map and says, point me to a city, you tell me where to go, and I'll take you there, and you'll see the same thing. Mm-hmm. And after like the 3rd or 4th time, he couldn't believe it. This is what capitalism is? Yeah. And they said, yes, capitalism provides all this.
Well, so many people don't.
Communism?
Yeah, but Don, people have shared stories with me about being, having friends or acquaintances that have come from Cuba, Venezuela, certain parts of the world, of course, North Korea and even China, and they bring them into a standard supermarket here, or one of those super Walmarts that have grocery store. And just walking in the aisle with soda, and you have 80, 90 feet of every conceivable soda on each side of
aisle.
Yeah,
cereal.
And then they see the meat and the fish and the produce, and it's not rotting on the table. Like, it's beyond, and they think that's for the party members or just for government people or whatever. No, every single person, every single citizen, legal or not, are welcome to walk in this store and buy whatever you want. And that's one industry, by the way. I kind of get a chuckle when people start talking about gouging at supermarkets, folks.
Yeah, right.
Supermarkets are probably the thinnest margin of profit of any business. They operate on such a razor thin margin, because they will do loss leaders just to get you in to buy the corn at such a ridiculously low price, so you get your milk and bread there too. That's how they operate. In my family business, my business, I deal with, because we have a big department on mystery shopping, mystery dining, investigating losses from both retail, grocery stores have been clients of mine.
Shrinkage.
There's the shrinkage. Yeah. So it's so thin that when there's a little problem that needs to be investigated, it pops right up immediately, because there was no margin for loss in a supermarket. So when they start talking about gouging prices, I'm like, you have no idea how that industry works.
Oh, no. Again, to be a Democrat, you can be as stupid as you want. It's like the oil companies. The oil companies are gouging us. No, you idiots. It's the state and federal government. They make more money on taxes than there are profits in the oil companies. Yeah. What? I says, yeah, just do the math. They're not gouging you. The damn states are making more money off the sale of gasoline and diesel than the oil companies are. Oh, well, they need the money to help people. Well, why doesn't the government then enact programs to ensure that people can take and save money and prosper, as opposed to giving them bigger beggars' bowls and expecting handouts, huh? What? You believe that handouts are better than people? I mean, does Liz Warren need, some sort of government assistance? No. All right. How about the Kennedy family? No. How about Nancy Pelosi? Does she need handouts? No. Well, why don't you make people as wealthy as them?
Yeah.
They just don't get it. They think the government should be there to help them, like you're saying.
Yeah. Don, can I ask you a question? Did you catch Lee Zeldin Congress this past week, right, when he was in the swamp, and he was basically trying to be grilled by that Connecticut Delorio with the purple hair and stuff.
Yes.
Oh,
I caught the excerpts of it on the news, but boy, did she look stupid.
I kept watching it over and over because it was entertaining. He's just like, really? You don't know that? I mean, come on. And she did not do, and at the end of it, right, because she was holding a cup of the, what was it, the bad stuff that they take. Anyway, she had this, what was it?
Glyphosate.
Yes. So she had
the
that
Roundup
cup,
chemical for killing plants. Yeah, glyphosate.
The glyphosate, right? Which,
why don't you drink some?
At the very end, right, of the clip,
Sweet.
she says that. And it's like,
Dear
you
God.
just said, why don't you commit suicide? That, and she gets away with it. Nobody gets a problem with that. Nobody says, and she came in, Delorio. So anyone who don't know what we're talking about, this is a congressperson, a female congressperson from Connecticut named Delorio. And they were talking about the EPA's proposed budget and a major cut that prioritizes real environmental protection without the wasteful bureaucracy. And this is the funny thing, folks. Dawn, I'm sure you appreciate this. Zeldin is coming in at less than last year. He's been able to cut expenses and get rid of waste, and is asking for less money than they gave that department last year. And they don't look at that and say, any secretary that comes in front of us with that request we're just going to say, yes, thank you for saving money. Wouldn't you think?
No, I mean, it's like the theft out in Minnesota, Michigan, and California, and that.
Yeah.
If you think the Democrats cared about the taxpayers, why don't they care about how the money is being spent and or stolen from the taxpayers to make it more efficient?
Yeah.
For some reason, though, Joe, like the governor of Minnesota, they just don't care.
No.
They just
actually,
don't care.
I'm going to get into
give a
that
damn.
because they raided many places, and I'll do that. I'll get into that, folks, in a second. But Waltz tries to take credit. This is a guy that was telling us very short time ago that first there was no fraud. It wasn't as big as it was thought, blah, blah, blah. And now the FBI, DOJ, they raid all these places. They start collecting evidence. They start arresting people. And he comes out with this tweet about, look at what I'm doing. And Patel comes back and says, are you kidding me? You had nothing to do with this. We had to fight you every step of the way. It's nuts, Dawn.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, they really don't give a damn. Once they take those taxes, they could care less how it's being spent. And that shows you a completely callous and unethical person. So keep voting Democrat and just watch your money just go over to Somaliland where they buy houses with it and live like kings while the rest of Somaliland people are starving to death. Yeah.
And there was
the Democrat Party, Joe.
And there was a text on that. Don, thank you for the call. Always a great call.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, to Don's point, there's a text that was revealed during all of this, folks, in case you missed it. And between a Minnesota official and a Somalian person, and saying, hey, how long are you going to keep up this daycare thing? And they text back, another couple of years, I want to buy a couple more homes in Nairobi. Okay, it is what it is with this, folks. But look, to this, let's get in this for a second. I know we don't have a lot of time left, but across America, this culture, unchecked government spending, right? It's created this perfect storm of fraudsters from long-standing scams. We know there's Medicare, Medicaid scams. I make this point occasionally. It is so commonplace that we know that scams are going on in Medicare and Medicaid. It's worked into our lexicon. It's worked into our TV shows. Go look at The Sopranos from the 90s, right? Half their things that they had going on had to do with phoning the MRI exams and getting doctors who were gamblers to process fraudulent. It's so well known. It's just we all understand it happens, right? To the unprecedented looting during COVID-19 relief era, right? Billions of dollars that got just pumped into COVID and all kinds of things. Taxpayers have been bilked out of hundreds of billions of dollars from COVID-19 relief money. And then this latest flashpoint is Minnesota. It's keeps it out. It's Nick Shirley's gone to California. He's going to keep going. Where federal aid in California is literally trying to pass a bill to stop Nick Shirley. They're calling it the Nick Shirley bill. And now we have federal agents just executed raids on 22 locations tied to this massive welfare fraud. And Governor Tim Walz immediately tried to take credit for work done by the FBI, the DOJ, and the DHS. This isn't isolated incompetence. Guys, it's a pattern of waste, political protection, and outright theft that hits every American's wallet. It hits us in our wallets, folks. And J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, right, leading the Trump administration's new anti-fraud task force. Well, he made it clear the days of looking the other way are over. Medicare and Medicaid have been fraud magnets for decades. Federal reports show Medicaid fraud control units secured over $2 billion in recoveries in fiscal year 25 alone. 1.3 billion criminal and 706 million civil, with 1,185 convictions. Yet the problem persists because oversight is laxed. And the programs are massive. Billions vanish every year through fake claims, overbilling, and ghost providers. And where are the consequences? Consequences will be a deterrent. It's so you pull in this scam and you're making $40,000, $50,000 a month, and it fuels, right? And while you're doing the scam and nobody's knocking at your door, trust me, I have investigated embezzlement and all kinds of crimes through my business. And same thing I've always noticed. Even the person who borrows a little out of petty cash because they're short that week for groceries to feed their kids or pay their bills, so they borrow a couple bucks from the business. This is small scale, but the psychology of it is what you're going to get. And they do that. And when they borrow that money, they really intend, and I'm telling you, I've interviewed these people in investigations. When they took it, they really had intention. I can sneak it back in. No one's ever going to know. But of course they can't, because they don't have enough money. That's why they took it in the first place. So they don't return it. And guess what? They didn't get caught on that. Nothing happened. They weren't called into HR. The police didn't show up. They didn't get, a summons to court. Nothing happened. So they said, oh, nobody really noticed. So it's easier to borrow money again, but this time in the back of their mind, they're not going to replace it. And then that snowballs. And then they get so far behind, they could never replace the amount of money that they've taken. And now it becomes money they depend on. So now they have to take that money. And so this is happening on a bigger scale with these people, because when they get tens of thousands of dollars a month out of false claims or shadow stuff, and nothing's happening, why stop? They get greedy. They start to live their life as if they made that money. They adjust their lives to that money, because most of us adjust our lifestyle to our income, where hopefully you go the other way and you decide the lifestyle you would like to have, and then you seek out to have that lifestyle. But most of us don't do it that way. And there's no consequences, and nothing. And then they see a case, but they don't see somebody really pay for it. So this is why it's gone unchecked. There has to be consequences, man. There has to be these people who are behind this. And I don't care where they're from, but if they aren't citizens and they have built the American taxpayer, not only should they go to prison, not jail, prison. For those that know that distinction between jail and prison. Jail, you basically, if it's 2.5 years or under. Prison, usually felonies, and your sentence is over 2.5 year point. You go to prison, and as soon as you get out after a very long time, your butt is deported out of the country. You have given up the privilege of living in this country if you've done this. It has to happen. And people have got to realize that the consequences of this, that when you're, not if, but when you are caught, everything you have will be stripped away, including your freedom. It has to be. It has to be. We cannot allow this. Think of the amount of money just what was in Minnesota, what we're seeing in California, and what we all know, the fraud here in Massachusetts. Because most of you either know somebody who can tell you about somebody they know who either has a SNAP scam going on, a Section 8 scam going on, a welfare, something. So we know it. Plus, we watch this governor here in the Commonwealth take your money, taxpayers' money, and put it into these Maura Healey flop houses and have made millionaires out of hotel owners. And they've taken money that would have been used for your children's sports programs or music programs or what have you, because there is a finite amount of money that you're getting out of the taxpayer base, right? So she's had to shift money around, and we, the taxpayers, have suffered in programs and benefits that the state has been providing because of our tax base, which we've had the social pact to accept that. And then without our blessing, has stolen that money and redirected it where it shouldn't be going. So you add all that up and then think about that. Think about the amount of money that has been stolen through fraud and scams. Because you cannot be a member of our state legislature or a federal legislature and with a straight face or a conscience talk about paying your fair share or increasing taxes if your efforts to stop the waste, fraud, scams, and abuse aren't 10 times that effort. And it takes a lot of cojones to look at a taxpayer and tell them they need to pay their taxes when so much of it is stolen. If we were able to root this out and get rid of this level of fraud and corruption and the scams that are happening by stealing the taxpayer money, my taxes could actually go down, or the same amount of money could really go to help those that need it. So let's look at the SNAP program. You're telling me that they have whatever their formula is to figure out what you get. You have more kids, you get more money, obviously. It takes more money to feed your kids, right? And whatever your expenses are. But if all the people who have 5, 6, and sometimes authorities will bust a drug deal gone bad, and they'll find that the dealer has 16 or 17 EBT cards because those people have turned it over for their drugs instead of food with their PIN number. Or the person has multiple identities and multiple cards. If we got rid of all that, we could actually increase the amount of money that we're giving to that single mother who's legit, or to that family with, although mom and dad might work, but between rent and the cost of having children, they really can't feed them well. So we give them a little hand with SNAP. We could increase that amount if that was the case. Now, Nick Shirley, he blew the lid off that whole operation in Minnesota in the December 25 viral video. He documented empty or sham daycare centers, many of them Somali run. And this is the thing. And this is why they were able to do it in Minnesota with such success, because so many politicians were so afraid of being called racist, which is so silly if you think about it, because it has nothing to do with the race. The scam is the scam, and it doesn't matter, nor should it matter what your race is. Are you trying to tell me if you're of a certain race or skin color, you're exempt from the law? That you're, what, entitled to run scams? I do not understand that. So somebody who happens to be Somali, but they're a criminal, I don't care that they're Somali. Now, one also has to point out that if you look at a particular scam, like the daycare scam, and 90% of the people committing it are from the same community, yeah, you got to look at that and acknowledge that. And just like certain crimes might belong to certain mafia organizations or organized crime organizations of a persuasion. And we know that too. So it's not racist because they did it. They committed the crime. And then they have shared it within their community. And how do so many people from one country end up in one place committing the same scam? Because now we're seeing the emails, the texts that we got on from interviews, right, in the investigations, that we're finding that Somalian people who live in New York were informed by their brethren about what they were doing, and they said, you should come out here and do this too. So yeah, that's when it plays a role. But it's not racist to prosecute somebody based on the crime they committed, regardless of their skin color or their ethnicity. That's very, it's not a very intelligent way to look at it. And probably the most famous one over there, right, is the Quality Learning Center. And it was one of the 22 sites that they rated this past week. And Shirley's reporting prompted federal action, including freezing hundreds of millions in funding, and led to his congressional testimony about what he did. It exposed a billion-dollar scheme with roots in earlier scandals like Feeding Our Future and the COVID fraud stuff too. And it's a 23-year-old on a YouTube channel got this going. And the former member of Congress, the AG out there, I mean, he's got some damning texts and emails where he's on record, or at least there's a paper trail of him saying, oh, don't worry about it. We'll bury this as long as, you keep going with this. Because like so many times in this situation, guys, the scammed money, the ill-gotten gain finds it into, quite frankly, campaign donors and races, right? But folks, we got to wrap up the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, formerly Peter Blute time. Peter's still working on his health, taking care of that. So be confident that he's going to be fine that way. Next week, I'll be joining you at 9 a.m., the float at 8:30. So keep that in mind. I'll be back on, I think, Wednesday. We are making some program changes. But that wraps up the Sunday edition, folks. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a fantastic week. Joe out, folks.
This is Radio Central, 830 WCRN, Worcester.